Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. New day, fresh start. Good morning, Delphine. Welcome to Pitbull Traders Morning Game Plan. I'm Manny. The purpose of this show is simple: live futures trading, real time technical analysis, and actionable trade setups. All with a focus on building real trading skills and the mindset designed to drive consistent profitability. Every morning we wake up, we come in with one goal: to build out the structure before the open, so we're operating in alignment with the day's dominant forces and we're making some coin. All right, team, let's jump into the charts. Let's map it out. Let's get the Thinkorswim charts up. Good morning, Jay Morak. How are you? Hope everyone had a nice, pleasant evening, nice summer evening. Let's jump into the charts. All right, so we're going to do as we do every morning. We're going to start off on our 4-hour time frame. This large rollover gap still needs to be contended with. We can always look at the. I think it's you. Yeah. So this is the front month contract, right? Yeah. And we can see here, it just looks much the same. We still have that small gap to contend with. So team, the one thing that we want to focus in on this chart is it's something that I mentioned earlier yesterday, and that early on, and it was primarily the reason why I was shorting into the open, was I had a hard time seeing, just mentally, I've looked at so many charts for so many years, and I had a hard time thinking that we could go straight up and test the prior high. But then, yesterday, as I was reflecting on the day, it dawned on me that while I was looking for, the conditions were there, right? So I was fading a pre-planned area into a high time pivot. So I had a valid setup, but what I failed to recognize in real time was the Artemis to the moon move that we've had from 63.53 low, right? This move has been characterized by sideways consolidations, breakouts that follow through. We've had this is the first pullback that we've had as a part of this rally. You might want to call this a pullback. I saw it more as a sideways consolidation. However, this was our first pullback, and we don't know if the context is going to continue, in that we're still within this up thrust move. It looks like yesterday came in and we saw that the market was just knocking on the highs, and it's intent on moving higher. So while that narrative of it not moving and blasting straight through to a new high is still valid, I believe that we need to be more respective of how we got here, the nature of this rally, and also that argument is now somewhat weaker than it was yesterday, simply because the market proved it, right? It held the gap, and so far, coming into these highs, what do we have? We have a bull flag consolidation at the high again. So here on an hourly chart, you can see it quite simply, right? Where we have a flagpole and we have the flag. All right. So it is a bull flag on the hourly, and that will frame our higher time frame narrative going into the session. Now, where do the conditions change on the hourly? Well, it's pretty simple. I think it's under yesterday's low, 76.12. Sorry, that's the overnight. Is that our overnight low? So that's the 6 o'clock low. Yep, that is the overnight low. Correct. Yeah. So if we get below the overnight low, we could see maybe we come back and we test the 76.02 high and bounce from there. However, let's just keep in mind, right, that this flag could still be forming, right? So we could just we could be seeing the initial formation of the flag here. It could widen out and still be a flag, right? So I think that this 7602, while it is there, it wouldn't really change conditions for this formation. I think truthfully, to see a shift in the formation, we'd probably have to get below this. We'd have to get below the 75.83 low in order for that condition to change. That would put us below our faster moving average. It would also have us testing the 20-period moving average. And so conditions will change for us. The only level that would change our narrative, instead of us looking at this as a bull flag, would be if we gain traction below 75.83. If bears are able to push price lower, get closes down below there, then at that point we'll start targeting a gap fill. And the gap fill initially could come in at 75.25 or even right down to 75.10. All of these areas, there would be quite a bit of structure to break through. But remember, if we're selling, we'll cut right through it. None of this will matter when the markets are selling. But the context has shifted from what my analysis is telling me, that we're in a positive gamma environment. Dips are going to be bought, highs will be sold into. Okay, so expect supports to hold. We're expecting rallies to consolidate and move sideways, possibly not extend higher, because we don't have the conditions for thrusty squeeze events. All right. So that frames out our higher time frame. Let's get into the 15-minute chart. That's really where the rubber meets the road, right? That's where we frame out our approach for the day and decide what trades are going to make sense heading into the RTH session. All right. We're going to do as we do every day. We're going to frame out the most bullish argument. We're going to frame out the most bearish argument, and then we'll talk about the trap trades. These bull flags make our job fairly simple, right? Consolidation within the flag, breakouts, because the structure is so defined, because testing the edges of structure becomes a very visual event that we can identify fairly quickly. It makes our job fairly easy. Okay, so because the chart formation is fairly straightforward, it gives us really simple, well-defined areas where we can know if there's changing action. Of course, obviously, this is where the trap trades come into play very heavily. All right, so let's talk about the most bullish argument. We're opening up at 76.23 and price rallies. You can see from this chart here that price is bumping its head against the settlement. Yesterday's settlement was 76.26, so that's going to be our immediate point of reference. Okay, if we can get above the settlement, we're going to start looking at the overnight high. Let me just get that in here properly. Hang tight. Okay, for the most bullish argument, if we're opening up 76.22, just make sure I manage this one correctly. Okay, I got the target. I got the target on that trade. Yes, very nice. I had a pre-market short on, and I just got filled for plus 12 points. All right, team, let's map out the most bullish argument. Okay. So price is rallying and we get above the overnight high. Okay, fairly simple. We could pull back to the overnight high in the most bullish event, and that overnight high holds. However, we do have this prior high at 76.30 as well as the settlement. Okay, in any event, price can pull up, looks above the overnight high and rallies. We're going to start monitoring for long entries. We're going to execute those long entries as close to our exit as possible, and we're going to target value area high and yesterday's high at 76.46 to 76.48. Fairly simple. Okay, there's just a few different areas where this could materialize from, and I think we should cover them all. All right, so we can see here we have this high at 76.30 as well as the settlement. All right, so it could materialize from the overnight high at 76.34. It could materialize from 76.30. It could materialize from 76.27. But you know what? When you have these compressed ranges like this, the risk becomes way more manageable, right? So we're talking about where last week, you know, we had 20 and 30 point structural references. Today it's 10 points. It's 76.26 to 76.34. Okay, so that's fairly manageable for us. We can assess what price's intentions are. If it looks above the overnight high and it's going to truly be a sell, then it should get below the settlement fairly quickly. Other than that, we're going to stalk long entries, and we're going to look for long trades in continuation of the trend for a test of the upper boundary of the bull flag. Okay. All right. So let's jump into and cover the bearish argument. The bearish argument has us opening up at 76.25, and immediately you can see that we're testing value area low from yesterday at 76.12. All right, so if we get a liquidation break and we start to work into this lower pocket, and by pocket I mean this area here between the overnight low and our most recent low, at that point we're going to be alert. We're going to wait for it to thrust through this move. Okay. And that if we get any pullback, any retracement that fails to reclaim value area low, 76.21, we're going to start framing this as a resistance point. At that point, I think we can entertain short scalps to get us down to the overnight low, 76.12, and then potentially even a move down to test yesterday's low. Now remember, we never know where they're going to show up, but we do know that we're in positive GEX environment, so that we understand that yes, we are going to expect supports to hold. All right, so the most bearish argument has us breaking below 76.20. It has us working into the pocket between 76.12 and 76.20, demonstrating acceptance by closing any retracement of that move that fails to reclaim value area low at 76.21, then we're going to entertain short scalps. We're going to be looking for momentum to the downside, targeting the overnight low at 76.12, and then maybe even a potential move down to yesterday's low at 75.98. All right. So that maps out the most bullish argument. That maps out the most bearish scenario. Let's talk about our favorites, right? The trap trades. Trap trades are our favorite because they force action. They get us to our first and second targets fairly quickly, and it's always a wonderful thing to be on the right side of the move. All right, team. So we're opening up at 7. Oh, that was a timely cover down there. All right, so we're opening at 76.27, and price has us rallying. Okay, if we rally and we get above the overnight high, ultimately put in a lower high and fail back down below, we're going to start looking for price to show acceptance back within the overnight range, which has been compressed. It's 22 points. We're going to think that, okay, the bull flag structure is still developing. We're going to think scalp approach. We're going to take our exits a little bit quicker. We're going to trade the edges to get back into our covers, which are in the middle part of that flag. Okay, so the bullish trap trade has us looking above the overnight high, failing, coming back into the overnight range, and then for a move down to the settlement. So if price gets above the overnight high, fails to find any traction, and we see it in the form of wicks, we're monitoring the order flow. We're using the execution clock to frame our entries. And if we get that look, then we're looking for a scalp trade with our backs up against the overnight high. Okay, and we're looking to target the settlement we're looking to target a settlement down at 76.26. But remember, the failure back into 76.34 is going to be our trigger. We're going to look for acceptance there. Now, it being fairly compressed, 76.34 is the overnight high. Settlement is at 76.20, 650. We really only have about 8 points there. That be a little bit more judicious as we head into the morning session. The ranges are compressed. Manage your expectations. I don't think that we can be really more precise about our entries and make sure you take our scalps. I'm already thinking, hey, on this move, I'm thinking get 3 points into the trade. I want to take some off, maybe even get 5. And at that point, I want to move to break even and maybe even just close the trade, because I mean, I get much out of that last contract. Another potential scenario is that we look above the yesterday's high. Okay, so if we get back up here, if we get over 76.48.75 and price fails to gain a following, bulls are getting giddy, but they don't get a following, and we put in maybe a head and shoulders pattern, and price comes back down below into yesterday's value area. So back below 76.46 is the area we're going to monitor. We're going to look for a move above 76.50. That fails. We're going to look for those price wicks. We're going to look for failure and closes back down below 76.46.75 for a move back down to test the overnight high at 76.34. Now, that if in order for us to get there, we would have 2 potential trades in this environment, right? Because we would probably be long on the most bullish scenario, and then we'll have to immediately change hats and look for failure or continuation, right? Do we get up here and do we continue higher, or do we get the look above and fail of yesterday's high? You know, we'll map it out as we go along. We'll talk the tape together and we'll see what transpires. All right, let's jump into now the bearish trap trade. I think this is my favorite of the day, my favorite potential scenario, because, you know, we're in a bull flag. Simple. All right, we're opening up at 76.27 and price has the liquidation break. Again, we're going to have that most bearish outcome look, except what we're going to do is we're going to monitor the overnight low. Okay, if we get below the overnight low and price puts in a higher low, but ultimately reclaims it, takes out this local pivot high, at that point we have to start thinking, okay, overnight low is holding. It's holding as support. There's a reason for that. We need to start tightening up our risk management on any potential short trade that we might be in. We need to start thinking about reversal. We need to start thinking about long trades back up to value area low. The better scenario would likely be that we get below yesterday's low at 75.98, test below. Perhaps maybe we do an inverted head and shoulders, but ultimately bears are unable, because we know what the higher time frame structure looks like, right? A test down there would get anybody who's missed out on this gap up from Sunday night is going to have their eyes ready and glued to that level. Okay, so if we do get below yesterday's low, but ultimately reclaim it, then at that point we are looking for long entries, and that trade it will likely be better because it'll yield more. Prices will have traveled a further distance. Plus, we also know that we are in a bull flag, and we should get a reclaim of yesterday's low, 75.98. We want to start entering long trades and targeting 76.12. Then ultimately see if we can get a move back into value up at 76.21. All right. All right, team. So that maps out the most bullish argument. We have the most bearish scenario. We have the bearish trap trade and we have the bullish trap trade. You know, reviewing these streams as I do often, just from it's part of my preparation. It's really interesting how one of these scenarios typically plays out. I have not been covering the dreaded sideways day as much, and I feel that I'm going to get caught off guard by that, just because last week we had such excellent price action. We were able to capitalize on such great moves that you kind of hope it doesn't happen. But let's just go through it really quickly, just in case. So looking at this, right, we understand that we have the 76.12 low, and we don't want to see price get below 75.83 on the higher time frame, right? But we could also build out. We may also be building out a larger, framing out a larger bull flag. So perhaps a sideways move has us testing above the overnight high, failing, coming back in, ultimately trading lower to value area low, maybe even a little bit lower, but ultimately coming right back into range. So anything that stays below, that stays really within the overnight range, 76.12, 76.34 are going to be our the only levels that matter if we're going to be on alert for a sideways move, because that sideways move would materialize by us looking on the opposite side of one of those levels, 76.12 on the low side, 76.34 on the upside. And if price does fail to come back in, if price does fail to extend below the overnight low or above the overnight high, then at that point, yeah, we're thinking about, hey, it looked below, it looked above, it came back into range, and we're just going to have a more balanced profile at the end of the day. At that point, we need to be really, really patient about where we execute. We want to trade on the outside edges of those ranges with confirmation, high or low, using the execution clock, using our levels, and more importantly, managing the trades a little bit more judiciously, having a little bit less expectations on them, and taking our exits in the middle of the range. All right. There's the opening bell. Let's get after it. So we opened up at 76.27.75. All right. 76.27.75. Our low thus far is 76.24.25. All right. So we're just dead in the middle here. We're just dead in the middle. We're not really going anywhere. Hang tight. All right, guys, let's see. Rich Boston, welcome. Hi, good morning. Good morning, Delphine. Good morning, Jay Murrock. Good morning, Philly D. All right, team, let's see what we have here. Wow, look at the Russell. That's right. Good eye. Good eye, Boston Rich. Yeah, it is blasting off. YM new all-time highs. Oh yeah, good eye. Look at that. Wow. Wow. So I wonder if that's going to bode well for our breakout today. All right, let's see what we got. We're well above our opening print. Sorry, team, a little bit distracted there. Had to take care of a sidebar, but I'm back with you right now. Let's see. All right, so we're testing higher. We haven't really. We looked above the overnight high. Let's see what the look is above the overnight high. This is that pullback what we discussed earlier, where we could just pull back to the 76.30. Let's monitor this here. It also is interesting that 76.30 is a low volume node. So let's watch that. You can see it right here. 76.30. Good. Moving higher. All right, so we looked above the overnight high and we're coming back in. It looks like that 76.30 is failing to hold, and it looks like we have the bullish trap trade. But you know what? We only have a 12 and a half point range. There's only a 12 and a half point range. So we have to be cautious here. We could go right back up to the overnight high. And furthermore, there's something I want to share about this outlook for today. Today is on the market blueprint. Today is an S3 day, and we are in a positive GEX environment on a cycle day 2. Okay. I think today will probably be very choppy, two-way trade, small rotations. I want to be extra cautious in here. I want to let the market prove it in any direction, but I think that allowing the first half an hour to play out would be best. Let's take a look at that. Let me take a better look at the YM. Admittedly, I don't look at the YM as much as I should. Let me put it up on this chart. It's probably better that it's popping again, coming back up. Very choppy, guys. Very choppy team. We're in this 7 or 8 point range, and we've traded above and below it several times. Wide candle bodies. Let's see if something materializes. We are above the 7620 for setup number 3. Where did we test down to? 24. It's so choppy. Be careful here. The question is, because we have setup number 4, 7620, maybe we can treat that as like, if we get down there, maybe we can treat that as a look above and fail. I mean, look below and fail. Something like that. Yesterday's volume point of control is 70. What? Let's see. Let me turn this to a regular trading hours. I wish there was more going on here. It's very, look, we're coming right back down again. We tested up the overnight high and now we're coming right back down. Be cautious. This is a very, very choppy environment. Let me know what you're trading out there. Let me know if you see something. I don't see it yet. I really don't. Let's see, where's the resistance? 76.70. So it's up above yesterday's high. Maybe we get the breakout here, but we're just 12-point range. Cautious, guys. Be cautious. I haven't done a thing yet. Oh, did it? Easy money. Now that's probably a decent trade for the morning. I, you know what? I just let me look at NQ while we're here. I just want to watch it. All right, so let's see if the look above the overnight low is going to be the trade. Uh, in order for that to materialize, would we want to see if you're in that trade, if that's the one that you're executing, you want to see us get through and stick below the overnight. First, get below the opening print 76.27, and then get below the settlement at 76.2650. YM had a big pullback. I'm just less inclined to participate in this chop range. I mean, maybe that retest would have been that retest of the overnight high with tradable. I was a little bit distracted anyway. All right, back down to 76.24. So we just tested that the opening range low, 76.24. I want to do something new here. Maybe let me just get the updated contract. Are you guys trading MNQ June or September? I only have NQ. Let's see. For June. NQ 26. It's odd. Each time like I've done this before where the markets get slow and I start looking at NQ. Let's bring up NQ. You're short MES right now? All right, good luck. Good luck. I mean, maybe they're the trade. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like initiating from the middle. I'm not sure I want to do that. But we just closed that tiny fair value gap at 28. So we should come off a little bit. I don't know. Kind of, it's definitely not easy to. Well, I should say is it's easier. It's makes for a better stream when you have a better market, right? So I don't know. Maybe I'll just try these. We have to look above and fail. Maybe I'll just try the short to get a trade in. All right. So my let's see, I have 25.75 short. I kind of like the idea, but I'm going to be very, very judicious in how I take the exits, and I will be fat quick on the draw on this. Look above and fail, above the overnight high. Yeah, nope, it's coming in on me again. Yeah, not the smartest move. Yep, I'm out of it. I'm out. I'm out. So you're right. Yeah. So and then right into a support. That was definitely an error on my part. So we have this. Look.
First pullback, take trade.
I should have been buying them there. All right. Well, that'll get your blood going. Let's see. No, you know what? I'm going to give me. Yeah, look at this. So I lost. Don't try that at home. So what I want to do on the next one is I want to try to get into this is the execution that I want. I want to trade setup number 3 or setup number 1. So I trade setup number 3 so setup number 3 is 76.20. I'll treat that as a look below and fail, right? So if I get above it, then I'm long on a reclaim, or I'm getting long setup number 1 down here. That's it. 76.20. I can also do an ATA long there. What do we have at the low? So we have a 76.21.75 low with a 3-tick taper. That probably gets breached. Hang tight. I'm going to take a quick break. Hey, real quick, I'm just going to grab a quick cup of coffee, team. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm back.
First pullback, take trade.
Let me see. 676. 20. 75.50. I think they're going to probably sweep this and then move it higher. If this range is if any tell, we likely don't even test down to the overnight low. See if we can get a test down there.
First pullback, take trade.
All right, we just tested the low at 76.21 and they swept it. So let's see, 5 ticks, 6 ticks below. Still nothing for me. But I am locked in on the order flow here. See if we can get a taper. We're tapering now. Yeah, they're coming in. They're selling them pretty good here. Let's see if they're just like a push lower, like selling them to buy them. I'm going to probe these here, 17s, 75, and 18s. I'm looking for 21. Let me get it up. Looking for the quick scalp on this. Looking for the quick scalp. Got the first target. Oh man, what's going on here? I'm not getting filled. Oh crap. Hang on, guys. Ninja froze on me here. Oh man, I didn't get a fill on that. Oh my God. Stop. Stop. Jesus Christ. My God, it's like a child. I'm having an issue with my PC here